Next question is from Jonathan Sosh. What does it mean if I never feel hungry? I can go all day without eating and never feel hunger, even though I can tell I need to eat because my energy is low.
This is an interesting one because...
Did you ever feel this way as like a young kid, like when you were trying to build and stuff like that? Like you didn't have much of an appetite, or did you always have like a big appetite?
I didn't have a big appetite, but I never had a no appetite. I pushed my food intake because I was, going crazy with trying to gain weight.
I mean, I kind of struggled with this a bit once I started cutting out breakfast and was like deliberate about when I started the whole fasting thing. And for me, it started to become too easy for me not to eat breakfast over like a year or so. And then it was like, I just wasn't really interested in eating very often. I had to like start eating again and kind of, get back in the rhythm of it to build an appetite again.
So I agree. I've definitely been here before. And I think it's really interesting how the body adapts, right? It's like, you may not remember what that, maybe you've been this way your whole life. And so you've never gone the other direction, but or like Justin's case where you've transitioned into like, meal skipping or whatever like that. And then all of a sudden the body adapts and then it's not a big deal anymore. I had to train myself to get an appetite to build and grow. Like I naturally could go all day and maybe eat once. Like and I still have that. Like if I were to like incorporate intermittent fasting on a regular basis, I could easily go there. In fact, there's periods in this that we've had this podcast where I've gone where just 2 meals a day and I'm totally fine. And I can go on stretches like that. But it's really hard to build muscle like that. I mean, you just can't get enough calories and protein to do that. And so sure, it's okay for weight management, but I care about optimizing my health and building muscle.
See, I would need more information because lack of appetite or low appetite, it can become an issue in certain circumstances, but otherwise it's not. Like what you're talking about, Adam, isn't a problem except for you had goals to pack on muscle.
Right.
In other words, it wasn't like you had a health issue. So low appetite that's related to poor health or that becomes a problem, well, that's usually based on something psychological, something, some kind of mental distress or stress or dysfunction or poor health, hormonal health or gut health.
Right.
But if this is coming from someone who's like, hey, my appetite isn't high enough for me to pack on muscle, well, then the strategy is completely different. So if it's due to dysfunction, well, we got to look at why you're opposed to eating. What is it about food that you're connecting?
That could be underlying too. Like you mentioned gut health. Like that's something like I didn't even really like put those dots together.
Oh,
and so, that could be something to investigate in terms of like, there may be, some intolerances, some, something there to address in terms of your gut health.
Oh yeah. Well, my gut health's off. My appetite's gone because I think my body knows like eat and you're going to feel terrible. So if you're a normal, healthy person, okay, and you're like, I think I should be eating more, I just don't feel like I eat enough, then strength training is one of the best ways to stimulate a nice appetite, right? When your body wants to build muscle, you tend to have, your appetite tends to go up a little bit and you'll eat
phase
more food.
1 anabolic. I always hear people say they really increase their appetite.
Appetite and libido.
Yep.
They'll mention. If your appetite is low and it's affecting your health and your doctor and people are like, you need to eat more, then I would look at hormonal health, gut health, something underlying. But otherwise, if you just want to gain muscle and it's hard for you to eat more, there are strategies. There are strategies to help yourself eat more. This is where I would tell someone to seek out more palatable food. This is where I would tell people to eat, carbohydrates in the morning. It will tend to stimulate appetite a little bit later in the day. This is where I'd tell people to avoid foods that cause digestive issues for sure, because if you're trying to gain weight and you're eating large meals and the food is causing some bloat, it's gonna be really hard for you to eat later on. So like easily digestible food makes a big difference here. But I do need a little bit more information to
we're giving as best, I think, general information. I mean, I read the question and I saw a couple people underneath that also challenged with this. It sounded like they have trouble eating more
to gain.
Yeah. Okay. There's another thing that happens here too. This also happened to me where I could go all day and not eat. And then for dinner, I had, McDonald's with 2 Big Macs.
Then it hits
too
you all
much.
at once.
Yeah. And then I eat this super heavy saturated fat meal. And then I'm good for another, 8 to 12 hours. I don't want to eat again. So one of the things that actually helped stimulate my appetite was actually eating clean. Was starting the day off with like a bowl of oatmeal with some whey protein and blueberries or strawberries inside of it. And then I'd be hungry again. And then I'd eat another meal which would be like chicken thighs and rice. And I actually found that these food, which also might have been playing into your point about the gut, is like what I might not know what I was doing was, one, gotten used to only eating once a day. Then I slammed my gut with this junk food that was garbage.
Yeah, you feel like crap.
My body is just like, trying to figure out how to process it, digest it. And so it's working all day and night to process all that. So it keeps me from being hungry again. And actually, just by eating clean foods, I wanted to eat more. But I had to train that first. And I had to start with lighter stuff like an oatmeal or a yogurt type of first meal because I was trained for so long not to eat. And then that started to stimulate the appetite. And then I wouldn't make the mistake of going and having because I did go through this phase too, where, I'd have this big, Quiznos or Togo's sandwich and chips with, a Coke to wash it down. And then again, that same feeling I would have, I'd be full till dinner time. And so eating good, balanced, whole foods helped stimulate my appetite and made me want
easily
to eat more.
digestible.
Yes.
That's a big one. That same thing here, Adam. I did the same thing. I would eat garbage trying to pack in the calories, and then I couldn't eat for 4 hours because I just felt like crap until I started eating foods I could digest really well. And that was no problem.
Mm-hmm.
Then an hour or two later, I was like, I could eat again. Another strategy, by the way, if this is, especially people with really fast metabolisms who have challenge getting enough calories. I had so much success with my young male clients. At one point, I had a few young male clients. They were all athletes, like football players. They wanted to put on muscle. And it was such an easy way for them to gain weight. It was so funny. It was like, have a big glass of milk with each meal. That's all I told them to do. And it was like 500 extra calories. And it was they didn't have any issues with dairy. It was protein, a little bit of carbohydrates, some fats. And it was an easy way to add calories.